was from, answering the 5 W's, and at the end asking, will you be my supplier? And then I thought to myself, I gotta say this pitch as many times as I can. So my strategy I developed was that I was gonna switch tables at every session, at every break, and talk to and give this pitch to as many people as I could. Basically anybody who I made eye contact with, I was gonna spew this pitch to. So the first day went by, I learned a lot from the conference, and I gave my pitch out 21 times. Nobody at the end said, yes, I would like to talk more or be my supplier. Day 2, after the breakfast session, I gave my pitch to this gentleman sitting beside me, and he was kind of half listening, but instantly I got the sense that he was somebody important in the room, because everybody walking by was giving him a handshake or giving him an extra, beat, giving him a business card, like just paying him special attention compared to everybody else in the room. So I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna switch tables when this next session break starts. And so I sat right there, and the session started, and I didn't have a smartphone because there were no smartphones back then. Entrepreneurs have it so much easier right now than we did. So the session started. I had a cell phone, but didn't have long distance minutes. So I ran out to the corridor, and from a payphone, I called my brother, who was at the University of Calgary, and I said, get out of class, run across campus to the computer science lab, because, well, back then, that's the only place you could get a computer that had internet, run out and find out who Max and his company is. I just have this feeling that I should spend more time with him and not move on. And he said, okay, give me about 20 minutes. So he runs over, he looks it up, and he comes back to the phone to me, and he says, Manjeet, you have hit the jackpot, if you can close a deal, of course. And I said, what do you mean? He says, Max owns the largest family-owned distillery in the United States. He produces all the products that we're looking for, but he said the kicker is that he already sends products to Canada. So he knows how to deal with NAFTA. He knows winter shipping, which is a big, of course, problem in shipping to Canada. He knows how to deal with French English. He knows all of the great things that you need in order to sell booze in Canada. And I said, okay, thank you, Ravinder. And he said, good luck, and he hung up the phone. So he ran back to the table, and I discovered after 20 minutes, somebody had taken my seat. Well, because Max was somebody to know in the room. And so I very awkwardly pulled up a chair from the next table and sat at the already full table because I was going to get another 15 minutes with Max. And so I sat there for the next session, hoping that he wouldn't get up, and decided that I was going to follow him until he gave me those minutes. And so that's what I did. I followed him the entire rest of the day to not give my pitch to anybody else. I left him only 2 times that day when he went to the washroom. I didn't follow him to the washroom. At 5 o'clock that day when the conference ended, Max came up to me. He didn't have to walk very far. I was only about 5 feet from him. He goes, is everything okay? And I said, yes, everything's great. And he said, well, I've noticed that you've been stalking me all day. I said, well, I wouldn't use the word stalking, but I have been following you because you might remember, might not remember. This morning I gave you a pitch during the breakfast, just before the breakfast session, and I needed about 15 minutes more to elaborate on that pitch. And he said, I don't remember. And I said, okay, great. So ignore everything then, pretend you haven't seen or heard me. Can I get 15 minutes of your time this evening? Can I buy you a drink? And he said, well, since you've been so persistent, I feel bad to say no. So he said, sure, I have a dinner meeting, but I'll give you 15 minutes before the dinner meeting, and we can have a drink. And I said, okay, great, I'll be there. Little did he know I was only 19 and couldn't even buy him a drink in the United States, but minor details. So I met him at the restaurant, and 15 minutes I talked without breathing. And then at the end of the 15 minutes, I asked him, would you please be my supplier? And he says, yeah, sure. And I say, did you say yes? And he says, yes. And I said, oh, great, thank you very much. And I stand up, and I'm shaking his hand like a crazy person. And also what I read on the way down, not to do when you're trying to be a professional. But I just couldn't bear the excitement. And he says to me, do you want to know why I said yes? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't care. I said, okay, yeah, sure, why? And he says, I love your enthusiasm. And as you can see, there's really no new players in our business and in our industry. And I love how passionate you are coming into this business. And being a family-owned business with your brother, my great-great-grandfather started our distillery, and we are still a family-owned business. And he said, I've heard stories of how other distillers helped him get into the business. So I would love to be able to do that for you to be your supplier. And I thought, great, thank you very much. And so I said, great, I'll be in touch. And so I'm dancing out of the restaurant, ready to go call my brother and be like, haha, I am so good. Look what I was able to do. But as soon as I get my coat and I think to myself, oh, Menchie, how naive are you? That you only have $6,000 left in the bank. And while in our industry, in the booze industry, everything is prepaid because it's alcohol. Nobody trusts each other. So I thought, wow, with $6,000, I can't get a license. I can't pay for labels. Never mind pay for the actual product and get it shipped. Like I can't do anything with $6,000. So I run back to the table and I say, Max, I have one favor to ask of you. And he says, okay. I said, can you produce a product, ship the product, ship me, sell the product, and then I pay you? He's like, whoa, what? Slow down. And I said, do I have to? He said, yeah, slow down. And I said, okay, can you produce the product, ship the product to me sell the product, and then I pay you? And he says, oh. And I said, well, listen, I got a little bit of a problem because I only have $6,000 left in the bank. And he's like, what? Like, there's like another 1 or 2 zeros on the end of that. And I said, no, $6,000 left in the bank, and I can't afford to prepay you or even pay you when you produce the product. And I don't want your accounts receivable department to be on my case for something that I know I can't pay at that moment. And so can we come up or arrange some payment terms? And he said, okay. And I said, really? And he said, yes. And he said, but you want to know why? And I'm like, this is a game? Okay, sure, fine. And he says, because you're being so honest with me. And I said, oh, he said, because if I go back and, well, you're right, my accounts receivable department is chasing you, they're going to come to me and be like, what idiot did you make a deal with in Canada that can't pay her bills? And he said, I would love to, just because you're being upfront and honest with me. And I said, okay, great. This time I hug him. I hug him very tightly because I am just so excited. Not only do I have a supplier, but I've got amazing payment terms that can actually get my company off the ground. And so I get into the car, I'm dialing my brother, and I think to myself, oh my goodness, Menchie. First thing Ravinder's gonna ask me is, can you send me a picture to prove that you actually got these payment terms? Because, yeah, right, this guy is gonna agree to those amazing payment terms. And I thought, oh God, I have to get it written down. That was one thing that my dad always taught me, get everything written down. And so I didn't do that. So I ran back to the table. This time his dinner meeting was coming. The 3 gentlemen, I say to them, just, can I get 10 seconds? This time Max stands up from the table and says, Menchie, I have nothing else to give you other than the shirt on my back, and you're not getting that. And I said, no, Max, I don't need anything else from you, but what I do need is for you just to write those terms that we just agreed on a couple minutes ago on a paper. And he goes, oh, that's easy, okay. Give me a paper and a pen. And I said, okay, I got a pen out of my purse, and as many women here probably have big purses, I did too, but no paper to be found in it. And so I grabbed a napkin from the table, and he said, and I said, yes, sorry, I don't have paper. And so he wrote those payment terms, signed it and dated it on the napkin. And so to this day, if you come to my Calgary office, that napkin is framed in my office because it was the start of our company. Max never forgot me because I didn't let him forget me. Thank you. And so when I started talking about mentors and how they have to be deliberate, why I say is that I never let Max forget me was because I decided on the way home that I wanted Max to be my mentor because I admired him for so many different reasons, but I wanted to learn from him. And so I decided, you know what? I'm gonna show up in Kentucky at his offices every 3 months, no matter what happens in my life. And so I was still in school, but I made it happen. Every 3 months, I would fly down to Kentucky. I would meet all the rest of the great people that work for me in the lab. I learned a lot. Max never met with me though for the first 5 times that I went. So a year, and the first year and a bit that I went down, he didn't have the time, and he obviously didn't really care to meet me because, well, I was a minuscule client of his, a customer of his. The 5th time that I went down though, I saw him going from his office to the break room. And like once again, I followed him and I said, Max, it's Manjeet. And he said, who? And I said, well, you know, he said, okay, he didn't remember. And I said, listen, can I get 5 minutes of your time? And he said, well, not today, I'm busy. And I said, okay, I'll be back in 3 months. And he said, what? And I said, yeah, I come every 3 months. He says, you do? And I said, yeah, I do, but you're busy and I understand. But I'm gonna be back in 3 months. Can I get 5 minutes of your time then? And he said, okay, sure, because that seems like real commitment. Yes, definitely. If you come back in 3 months, I will give you 5 minutes. So I came back in 3 months, and I got 10 minutes from him. And I let him talk, and I asked a couple questions, and it was great. And I said, when I was walking out the door, I said, I'll be back in 3 months, see you then. Can I get maybe 15 minutes then? And he said, okay, well, we'll see what's on my schedule. And I had made friends with his receptionist by then, and he said, 15 minutes is good next time. And so she scheduled me in 3 months later, and every 3 months it started to build, and we became not only friends, but he definitely became my mentor. I learned so much from him. We actually partnered in lots of other territories around the world to sell products together and to create new products. And so a couple of years ago, I said to Max, I said, you were such an amazing mentor the first decade of my business. And he said, well, yeah, you pay me, you know, now, so that kind of helped. And I said, well, yeah, I do pay you earlier now, but you don't know how much you really taught me. And he said, I was never your mentor. And I said, oh yes, you were. And I said, just because we didn't have that actual term given to each other, mentor and mentee, it doesn't mean that that's not what you were. And I said, listen, I was very deliberate. I really wanted you to be my friend, my mentor, whatever you want to call it. But I really wanted to learn from you. And so it's a great example of how, please don't do that to me, because when I tell the story, I'm always afraid that somebody's going to do that to me. But it was really important to me, and that friendship has grown, and now we're friends, and like I said, partners in a lot of other things that we do together. But it was somebody who I wanted, and I do that every time I want to mentor. I look around me, I look at people I don't even know, that who do I admire, 1 or 2 things, or them as an entire individual, and pick and choose that way. So I really do believe that mentorship should be deliberate, as it was for me the second time around. And so in closing, if there's only one thing that you get from a lot of my stories and my talk today, I would love it to be that you need to negotiate for everything in your life, in your career, and especially in your business. And trust me, everything is negotiable. Everybody around me in our companies always say that I should have been a lawyer, not an engineer, because I never take anybody's first offer or second offer. Usually it goes to third or fourth. But I strongly believe in the power of negotiation. And whether it's payment terms, I couldn't negotiate for the price of a bottle of vodka that day with Max, but I could negotiate payment terms. And so, as times and moved and changed, of course, and then we made our own distilleries, I didn't need to, but it's really important that when you learn to negotiate, and that you do learn to negotiate, that it's a win-win situation. My dad always used to tell me that the best negotiation is when both parties walk away from the table a little bit unhappy. That's when you know that it's been a perfect, good negotiation. And so it's not something, unfortunately, that we're taught in schools or that's talked about very much, but I strongly believe has been the key to my success the last 2 decades. Everybody in our company to this day, including me, at least once, if not twice a year, take negotiation courses. And there's a variety of them, in person, online, as groups, individually. There's so many different kinds of negotiation courses, or persuasion courses, as they're called now. But I strongly believe that everybody should invest in themselves and take those courses, and do them often, and refine your talent and your skill in that world, because often you're negotiating with the same people, the same companies, and you have to sometimes sometimes mix it up yourselves too. It gets more comfortable, trust me, as time goes on and you get more comfortable with your own skills. I strongly believe that you don't get what you deserve in life, you get what you negotiate. So please, please go tonight and look for a negotiation course close to you and register for it and take it. It will pay off tenfold because you don't realize how much you do it in your everyday life with your kids, with your husband, with your business partners, with everybody in your life. So not only for your business or your career, it's unbelievable how it can change so many different things in your life. So thank you very much for listening. In closing, I just want to emphasize a couple of the lessons that I talked about. First and foremost, find a mentor and be a mentor. Second, have the courage to give. Have the courage to succeed. Don't give up. And lastly, life is not fair, and negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. My final thought on success this evening is going to be, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. Thank you.